Yet I was placed within an inbound call center. How did this happen? Honestly, it happened because no one cared enough to advocate for their coachee. No one advocated enough for my personal brand, but rather the YearUp brand. My group of interns were sent to our internship location because we were the guinea pigs. We were the exemplary figures for the YearUp program to introduce a new generation of students to the home loans department. We were not there because we were most qualified. We were not there because we were most essential. We were not there because there was a necessity for us. We were there because we were trying to build a new business relationship. This is a business program, or at least the way that they solicit their students. They solicit us like we are enterprise to be sold, So honestly, I feel like I was there because I was the shiniest apple, and I don't say this to be conceited. I say this given reference. Looking at my academia, looking at my professionalism, looking at my physical representation, my mannerisms, my respectabilities, given that I was passive at times when I should have been assertive, they definitely placed me in that location because they thought I was like the smart girl they could punk out. You know what I mean? Like, I will pacify certain things for but so long, but I'm very much so an assertive person, and I don't do well in call center environments, as you can tell. And it's not because I think I'm too good for it. I definitely respect everyone that does call center work. I'll never, sugar honey iced tea on anyone that does call center work. So I'm not saying like, ooh, shit on these people that do call center work. No, I'm just telling you my experience and why I was placed there. Don't be a shiny apple sometimes, because I promise you, a lot of the people that were liabilities, a lot of the people that should have experienced a turnover given their liable nature, they were the most successful because their growth areas were pacified. Their growth areas were never strengthened, but rather compensated for, if that makes any sense. A lot of people were placed in environments that worked around their growth areas. If they had a bad temper, they were placed in a department that would cater to that temper. If they were passive people, they were placed in environments that cater to their passive nature. They were placed in environments where they could be walked all over. I had this one girl, her name was Ange, and she is a very tolerable person. And I say this given my personal relationship to her. When we were on learning and development, we were not that close, but as we experienced internship together, we grew immensely close to one another. All of us, we grew closer to one another. Ange was a very tolerable person, and I say this because of how she dealt with her romantic relationship. She was dealing with a guy that was an absolute F-boy, but she was so in love with him. She was so tolerable of his nonsense. And I feel like her personal translation revealed itself in her professional career, her professional orientation. You know what I mean? So they solicit the children in the way that they believed us to be. Their perception was reality. A lot of them perceived me for how they perceived me, and they thought this would be a good place for me to go to. They thought I would be the best advocate for the brand, and I'm just not that type of girl. I'm not. I'll never forget when we had this meeting because one student quit. Her name is Ty, and I spoke of her in a previous video, and we grew really close to one another because she recognized the BS. She recognized why we were there. She understood that this was not what was advocated unto us, and she just, started to recognize a lot of stuff and decided to quit. And basically, when she quit, that's when our administrative staffing decided to come down to our institution to see what was going on, because there was like, okay, if Ty quits, there might be a chain reaction. And honestly, after Ty quit, there was a chain reaction because I believe I quit. I want to say Ant quit after me. Then I want to say Ange allegedly quit after me. I don't know what happened to Rod, but I do know that Ray stuck it through and he completed the program. So there was only one person from class 8 within the home loans department to complete internship, to complete the year program. To my recollection, to my, knowledge, all that I know, there was only one person that finished strong. And ironically enough, in the previous class, my cousin was the only student to last out of all of the students sent to the home loans department for mortgages. So it's kind of like you didn't learn your lesson the first time, you learned your lesson the second time, and sadly, all of us students had to suffer because of their inconsiderate nature. They didn't care about us. They didn't care about what we were getting into because they were ignorant. They didn't know what we were doing. I remember speaking with my coach during a lunch meeting, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about implementing home loans into learning and development, implementing that into our boot camp." You can't do that, sir. You can't. You know why? Because we don't have the software. You guys do not have the expertise to teach these students what we are learning on OJT or OTJ. You know what I mean? So it's like there was just a lot of cluelessness.
Even when the program became questionable, even when my internship role was intolerable, even when I wanted to quit, I still gave my best efforts. Until the last and final day, I gave my best effort. At least I can say when I left the program, I tried and exhausted all of my options. That was something that I wanted to ensure. Even though I'm not happy that I quit because I'm kind of competitive and I want to see things through, I still exhausted all of my resources. When I was on internship, although I hated the product, although I loved my institution, although I loved my mentor and my coworkers, I still made it to work every day. I still made it to seminar. I still was punctual. I was still punctual. I was still of attendance. I never missed a day. I never missed a day until my last and final day.
And yeah, back then I was just really passive. There were certain things that I could have asserted myself unto, but because I just wanted to get my internship location, and because I always had this assumption that you have to do what is expected of you to get what you want, I just never really advocated as heavily as I did towards the end as I should have in the beginning. So yeah, I don't really know where I went at with this conversation, but oh yeah, Ty. So basically, Ty quits, and then they want to have a meeting with us, and I'm asserting myself because at this point, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm depressed. I'm suffering from anxiety. I've purchased all of these stress toys on Amazon to cope with the stress of answering all these calls every day and never having a moment to mentally escape. Your mind is constantly working as your body is physically in motion. So I was just I was not myself. It was a really depressing experience. I grew really bitter during this time of my life because I'm like, wow, like I really worked hard. I really gave my all to this program and I'm here. Like there's so many people that didn't even work as hard as I did, and they're making $20 an hour. They're in these easy breezy cover girl jobs, and I'm up here stressed and looking like Cynthia from the Rugrats. So basically, Ty quits. They have this discussion with us at this little round table. They bring in nukes, and they're like, "Let's talk. What's going on? How can we help?" They didn't want to help us. They weren't even going to try to help us. They just wanted to encourage us to stick through this stressful, unnecessarily stressful process. It was unnecessarily stressful, and it didn't have to be that way if they would have just listened to us and sought to understand us and not to view us for how they saw us. Because it's crazy, because it's like, how can you choose a location for an individual, a grown behind adult, because that's how you're treating us. We're young adults, we're urban young adults. How can you choose an internship location for these urban young adults without even taking into consideration their consent? You know what I mean? Like, I never picked home loans ever, but it was gold chip or gold standard, blue chip and blue standard, whatever we were called. It was the two teams coming together to deliberate upon the internship placement for every student. And it's like, how can you do that? I didn't even know any of the blue chip or blue standard administration. I didn't know them. So how can they pick my internship location? That makes no sense. I barely even knew half of the people on gold standard. I definitely observed them and was able to understand their character and their mannerisms and develop an understanding of who they are, but I didn't know them personally. So it was just a lot of backwards tactics and mechanisms used to advance within this experience. I don't know how to say it. Typically, I'm very politically correct in these videos, but right now I just got off of work and I'm just like, let's just get this over with. I don't want to talk about this anymore, but I want to help you guys. I really want to, make you aware of my experience, because this is not something that should be normalized. This is not something that should happen. And if it happened to me, I know it happened to someone else, and I don't want it to happen again. So basically, Ty quits. And long story short, our internship director comes in and he's like, they're jealous of you. Don't quit. You see all those people out there? They would wish to be in your position. Now, I'm not going to lie. I do feel like a lot of management took recognition to us because of our suits. Like I said, that appeals to the professional psyche of a lot of traditional businessmen and women. But at the same time, they didn't care. They didn't know our names. They could barely remember our faces. The only reason why they knew who we were was because we wore suits. We barely even interacted with our top tier managers. They did not care about us. And I'm just going to be honest. A lot of my coworkers in that institution really liked us. They liked to have conversations with us. We did a lot together. Like, they were really good people. They were really good people. So for him to say that really made me raise the eyebrow, because it's like, how can you tell me about the people that I've literally gone through this experience with? I've experienced more and learned more from them and with them than I ever learned in learning and development. You're not going to turn me against people that have genuinely nurtured, you know, my gifts and, assisted me within my growth areas. You're not going to do that. So it was just crazy, because he was like, they're jealous of you. They're jealous of you. No, they're not. No, they're not. This is a call center, dude. Dude. Like, that was just so crazy. And then for my coach, again, to say he was going to implement our software and our curriculum within the YearUp program, I'm like, well, why didn't you guys do that for us? Because we were sitting here twiddling our thumbs with Microsoft Word and Excel, and we don't use that at all. We do not use PowerPoint. We do not use any of the Microsoft Offices except for none of it. Honestly, now I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so maybe we'll use Excel, but we'll only use it to calculate mortgages and the home equity line of credit.